Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to chat with you guys a little bit about one of the beauties of when you run any sort of max effort system is that you have the ability to transfer lifts back and forth and know how much weight you should be lifting for 1 rep maxes or 10 rep maxes and be able to assess what your 1 rep max is at any given time. And these are all lifts I'm going to have up in the background. Were all done within a 5-week span of time. So for me, being a very advanced lifter, strength doesn't change a lot in 5 weeks. And I'm going to highlight something here that people will notice. You notice that I'm doing 2 different exercises, up to 3 different rep ranges, all using the same barbell. And incidentally, we're going to come over to the fact that what is it that I say, and you've heard guys like Louis Simmons say, our squats and our good morning should be about the same. And in other words, a power good morning done correctly, just like that 535 I just did there, when you get strong at it, you want it to be as strong as your max squat. Why? Well, because then you will never have to worry about good morning being a squat, right? It becomes a non-issue for you. It becomes something that you never need to worry about. Okay, and you guys noticed I did the exact same weight for a max on those 2 lifts. My box squat with the cambered bar is 535. Okay, now you guys can figure out on your own what sort of squat that translates to, but that doesn't translate to just a 500s, low 500s squat. Box squat and a cambered bar. So they're the exact same. That's what we want. That actually is a sign of good balanced musculature in terms of certain muscles. And it's what we want to avoid certain problems with the squat. Right? We want that. That's desirable for people who train the good morning. Now you guys are going to notice when I go over and do 5 rep sets, I'm capable of doing 5 reps, very challenging 5 rep sets on both exercises with approximately 80% my 1 rep max. Now, some people are going to be like, well, that's not how the calculators work. Well, when we're dealing with people who max a lot, actually, we find that is fairly accurate. Doing multiple sets of 5, if you can get to 5 by 5 with 80% as someone who maxes out a lot, okay, if you can get to that, you're probably not at 80% anymore. Now the same thing, we can usually do around 10 reps with 70%. Now before I did that good morning max at 535 the week before, I did 3 sets of 10, and you'll see it in this video. They're kind of just flipped in there with 365 for 3 sets of 10 on the box, or not the box squat, but the cambered bar. 68%. And 3 by 10 with that, you extrapolate that over, it's about right. We should be up in around 530 to about 540 on a 1 rep max on that lift for people who max out a lot. And then I tested it and I was. Okay. So what this tells us is that we can program everything in both directions. In other words, if you max out regularly and you want to figure out what to do with rep work on stuff, you can calculate off your maxes. Okay, whatever your current max is will tell you what you need to be working with. And people will say, well, what about progressive overload? Progressive overload isn't actually as important for the non-novice as you think it is. Progressive overload is evidence of hypertrophy. I don't believe it's the actual driver. So in other words, if you can calculate based off your maxes what a challenging 5 rep set is, you can do that. And so I would say something like, look, you can throw in 80% and work at 80% per sets of 5, 80% of your 1 rep max. And if you can get to 5 sets of 5 with it, guess what? What does that tell you? That's no longer your max anymore. You probably are ready to PR on that lift. So we don't need progressive overload. you need to go test your max again on that exercise, because it means you've outgrown that weight, which means you've stimulated growth. Because I can tell you right now, if you're doing 5 sets of 5 on a big movement regularly with 80% of your max, you're getting bigger. You are getting bigger. Let's come over to the other point. 70%. We can do about 10 reps for 70%. Okay? But when you can do 3 sets of 10 with a given weight, that used to be 70% of your max, you know that your 1 rep max went up. Okay? You have stimulated growth. And let's get over to the point. What if you have a 500s good morning and you build up to, which in my case I had a 515 on that lift between testing it. Well, if you can do over 70%, or in that case around 70%, you can do 3 sets of 10 with that. Okay, so let's do the math. If 515 was my max and I built up to do 365, well, that's almost 71%. That's 70.8%. Which, good working weight. That's usually about an all-out 10 rep max. 3 sets of 10 with it. Hey, well, you know that your max has gone up, because there I'm doing it right there. Okay, you know that your max has gone up. It's time to test your max again on that exercise, isn't it? Right? This works both directions. And I'll go so far as to say, let's look at it from the perspective of the good morning transferring to the squat. Okay, if we have an ideal goal that our good morning should be as strong as our squat, if we can PR our rep work on our good morning, if you're able to do 5 sets of 5 with your previous 80% good morning, or you can do 3 sets of 10 with your previous 70% good morning, your squat's probably gone up. People say, well, how could you say that? Well, unless your quads didn't grow. If your quads have gotten any bigger or stronger, the good morning works every single muscle involved in the squat other than the quads directly, and very, very hard. So if your quads have grown also, you know that you're ready to PR on that lift. You're ready to PR on a squat. You're also ready to PR on the good morning. You know it based upon your rep work. And by that same token, we can pick our rep work without worrying about progression, without worrying about taking sets to failure. We don't even have to do that with the big movements. We just need enough workload to stimulate growth. We can calculate those workload needs off of our maxes. So if you know your max on a lift, and you know lifts that are similar, right? You know lifts that are similar. Okay, if you know what your box squat is, your rep work should match that for similar good morning, shouldn't it? Right? Well, you should be able to program your rep work based off of that. If you know your disparity between those lifts, if you know how much more you can bench press and you can close grip bench press, and you know what your bench press max is, you should be able to calculate your rep work for your close grip benching and know exactly how challenging and stimulating it should be. It's just based off your max. You should know how much weight to use for how many reps. This works both directions. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.